Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Comprehensive martial arts. Understanding the heavenly adventure, opening Bridal Room with Li Hanyi Traveling through the world of martial arts. I found an injured woman in my own yard. In order to repay her life.Saving kindness, this stunning woman chose to commit to her life. On the night of the bridal chamber's blooming candles, the lady suddenly summoned peach blossoms from all over the city, and the bridal chamber was full of romance. Chu Changfeng, however, was a bit disorganized. The only one in this world who knew this move was the rumored Snow Moon Sword immortal Li Hanyi. After his bridal chamber, Chu Changfeng unexpectedly discovered that his intelligence was incredibly remarkable. Practicing the water-stopping sword technique to the 4th level can break through to land immortals. But Chu Changfeng directly realized the 9th level. I went out for a spring outing and picked up a white fox face who loves reading, named Nangong Pushe. Her twin swords and 19 pavilions can slay land immortals. Chu Changfeng, however, comprehended it to 30.6 stops. I met a brother while drinking, but to my surprise, it was the Empress of Qi who disguised herself as a man. According to the Huan Yin Jue in her hand, Chu Changfeng is also an immortal martial arts that he has come to understand. And there's also Inviting Moon. Huang Rong, Wan WanFeilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Bridal Candles in the Bridal Chamber, Moonlit Evening and Morning Flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Snow Moon City, east of the city. Those who can live here are all wealthy people. At the entrance of a small courtyard, there are lights and colorful decorations, red banners hanging high, and firecrackers ringing in unison. The people who came and went to eat also congratulated one after another. I don't know who is so lucky to marry this Chu family kid. In just 1 year, I was able to afford a small courtyard in the east of the city from a poor boy. The Chu family kid is really talented. Who said it's not right? Unfortunately, I gave the matchmaker a lot of money and asked her to introduce my daughter to the Chu family boy. By the way, who exactly is this bride? I haven't heard of any family in our Snow Moon City planning to marry their daughter. Perhaps it's a young lady from somewhere else. She must have some talent to be liked by him. Amidst the discussion among the guests at the banquet, the newlyweds dressed in red wedding attire appeared. The bride has a red veil over her head, and her face cannot be seen. But that figure is absolutely stunning, you can see it through the wedding dress. Across from the bride is a handsome and exceptionally good-looking groom. Worship heaven and earth. Husband and wife say goodbye. Send into the bridal chamber. With the sound of the best man, he was sent into the bridal chamber. Chu Changfeng happily picked up his bride and arrived at the beautifully decorated wedding room. Placing his wife on the bed, Chu Changfeng felt a little excited. He slowly extended his hand towards the red cap. From now on, we will be couples who have worshipped heaven and earth, Chu Changfeng said. A soft murmur came from within the red veil. As he was about to meet the stunning lady, Chu Changfeng couldn't help but recall the time he had just met her. At that time, he had just earned enough money to move from a noisy market house to a quiet courtyard in the east of the city. On the first day of moving in, I saw Yi in my own yard. At that time, she was dressed in green clothes, spitting blood and lying in her yard, barely breathing. It was Chu Changfeng who kindly saved her. But her memory had a problem. I can't even remember my own name. I only vaguely remember the word Yi in my name. Chu Changfeng took the opportunity to call her Yi. The two stayed together for a month, and Yi's injury healed. But she still can't remember who she is or where her home is. Chu Changfeng also inquired about this city and did not hear that any of the daughters of the family had been lost. Subsequently, the two of them spent 2 more months together day and night together. Yi suddenly proposed to make a promise with her own life to repay Chu Changfeng's life.Saving kindness, as well as to take good care of her clothing, food, and daily life for the past 3 months. The two of them chose today as an auspicious day. Under the witness of these nearby neighbors, they got married by bowing down. Taking back his thoughts, Chu Changfeng's hand hesitated for a moment. He naturally knew what a stunning face it was beneath this veil. Even if he had seen so many celebrity beauties, technology, makeup, beauty, costs in his past life, all of these are far less stunning than Yi. Chu Changfeng couldn't help but sigh. This can also be considered as a blessing from heaven for this traveler. As a traveler, Chu Changfeng passed through. There is no golden finger. Air has no prominent background. Just the most ordinary commoner. I can only earn some money by relying on my own wisdom. I thought I would live a mediocre life, but I didn't expect Yi's appearance to make his life no longer monotonous. Life has also gained some color. From then on, working hand in hand with Yi from old age to old age is also a worthwhile life. Under the red veil and wedding dress, Yi's body also trembled slightly. She pinched the corners of her clothes with both hands. Through the residual light below the red cap, she saw Changfeng right in front of her. But at this moment, she has yet to lift her red veil. Changfeng, will you treat me consistently throughout your life? Yi's gentle voice sounded softly. Chu Changfeng was about to answer when the voices of guests outside interrupted his thoughts. Yi, please wait for me for a while. Chu Changfeng left a sentence and came to the yard. After fulfilling the hospitality of a host, I accompanied and drank some alcohol. Chu Changfeng then sent all the guests away. I closed my own courtyard door. At a moment in spring, he doesn't want anyone to disturb him or cause trouble in his wedding room. He hopes to have a beautiful and unforgettable perfect bridal chamber. Returning to the wedding room, Chu Changfeng whispered. All handled, Yi. No one will disturb us next. Chu Changfeng's voice was a bit slow, and after drinking some alcohol, he reached a perfect state of slight drunkenness. Yi's voice was still so gentle. As Chu Changfeng returned to her wedding room, her body trembled with nervousness once again. This time, Chu Changfeng didn't hesitate and gently lifted the red cap. That stunning face made his heart suddenly stop beating. Every time I see Yi's face, I can feel enough amazement. Yi said in a mosquito-like voice. Long wind, light, a little lighter, okay. Chu Changfeng looked at his slightly parted tender red lips and without hesitation kissed them. After a while, Chu Changfeng looked at the wedding room filled with red light. He, who is slightly tipsy, always feels like something is missing. At such a perfect moment, it would be great if we could lay some more petals on the bed. Chu Changfeng said something like this for no reason. Yi's expression froze for a moment, as if she remembered something. She always feels like she can do it. The bodies of the two embraced each other, with their hands extending behind Chu Changfeng's back, and their fingers clasped together. Whispered softly. The moon sets and the flowers bloom in the morning. A burst of intangible true Qi erupted, and the experts in the entire Snow Moon City could sense some. Remember, on the mountain behind Snow Moon City, the newly blooming peach blossoms are scattered all over the mountains, with all their petals falling off. Flying towards a corner of Snow Moon City. In the small pavilion behind the mountain. The wine Immortal by Li Dongjun was somewhat surprised. After disappearing for 3 months, junior sister, you have finally returned. I just don't know who forced you to use this move. Tons. Li Dongjun poured a mouthful of fine wine into his mouth. But it feels dull and tasteless. Ah, junior sisters have all returned. I should also go find my Mengpa soup. Snow Moon City, Lord's Mansion. Gun Immortal Sikong Changfeng put down the account book in his hand and suddenly felt the familiar fluctuation of true energy. Who caused you so much commotion this big night, can't you? Disappearing for so long, don't come and see me, everyone is like a shaking hands shopkeeper, I'm exhausted. P.S. New books for flowers, monthly tickets, all kinds of requests. Fresh flowers add updates, monthly tickets add updates, and review tickets also add updates. Rewards are even more important. Chapter 2. Flowers spread all over the ground, red candles burn brightly. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The door of Shifeng automatically opens. Countless peach petals fly from afar, slowly falling into the room. Gradually, the entire room and bed were filled. Chu Changfeng himself was already slightly tipsy, and in front of his wife he became even more intoxicated. Completely unaware of all of this happening. At this moment, it feels like being in a dream, with countless petals floating in. Inside the bridal chamber, red candles float. Everything is in silence. The next morning, in the morning, Chu Changfeng only felt his waist and back sore and weak. I was about to get out of bed and walk, but as soon as my foot stepped on the ground, I trembled and almost fell to the ground. Coincidentally, Yi walked in carrying a bowl of lotus seed soup. Xianggong, you can lie down for a while longer. Judging from Yi's walking posture, there is no abnormality at all. But Chu Changfeng is already like this, it shouldn't be at all. Chu Changfeng thought dejectedly, how could it be? I fought with Yi for 2 hours last night, and I had to support the wall and leave. Yi didn't have anything to do. Does Yi have a strong physique or no martial arts? Xianggong, come on, I'll feed you a drink. Yi kindly helped Chu Changfeng up and then fed him the lotus seed soup that had just been cooked. After a slight pause, Chu Changfeng finally looked at everything inside the room. The red candle has burned out. But inside the room, he was very surprised, just like the scene he had dreamed of last night. The petals on the ground are like being in a sea of flowers. Even the bed was covered with petals. Just in the middle of the bed, there is a cluster of peach blossom petals that are particularly bright red. It should be something contaminated. Chu Changfeng couldn't help but ask, do you have no feelings at all now? Pain, or discomfort, etc. Yi shook her head and said, no, my lord. I just feel like there's a constant stream of air circulating inside my body. I had a very painful feeling last night, but the pain quickly dissipated, probably due to the airflow in my body. Ah! Chu Changfeng was a bit stunned. Is there an airflow inside the body? Is this internal power or true qi circulating? You really know martial arts. Qi circulates throughout the body, and some minor injuries and pains in the body will automatically heal. Yi shook her head and nodded again, saying, it seems like this, I don't remember very clearly. Wait. Xianggong. Yi remembered, it seems that what's inside me is called true qi. True qi. Chu Changfeng took a deep breath. Ordinary martial artists may not be able to achieve a complete circulation of true qi, and their internal injuries will heal. My own mother, her martial arts are definitely not low. Now, Chu Changfeng felt that something was not quite right. I am just an ordinary person, not even beginner in martial arts. If Yi is a young lady from a big family, or a martial arts expert, the fiancée of a powerful force in the martial arts world, then why not? I'm not allowed to dismember myself in 8 pieces, will I have to raise all my ashes? Thinking of this, Chu Changfeng was somewhat worried. He propped up his body. Then, with the help of Yi, he arrived at the yard. Chu Changfeng pointed at the soybean milk mill in the yard. Is your true qi released? It's the kind of release that unleashes a strong power. You can try that stone mill on your hands. Yi lightly bit her thin lips and nodded. I'll give it a try. With this thought in mind, Yi's hand unconsciously pointed towards the stone mill. A burst of true qi erupted. Boom! The stone mill was instantly blasted open by the true energy. Chu Changfeng swallowed his saliva. The true energy was released and easily shattered such a large stone mill in the basin. That thing, even with a big iron hammer, it would take dozens of hammers to knock it like this, right? And, I reckon my hands will blister. Looking at Chu Changfeng's shocked expression, Yi's face showed a hint of worry. Xianggong, don't you like Yi's martial arts? Yi asked tentatively. No, of course not. Chu Changfeng quickly denied. I actually have a strong desire for martial arts, but I don't have any connections or know how to cultivate it. Can you remember how you practiced yourself? Or rather, what are you practicing? Upon hearing Chu Changfeng's words, breathed a sigh of relief. After spending 3 months together day and night, she had already fallen in love with Chu Changfeng. Combined with last night's wedding ceremony, it was a night of love. She was even more determined to establish a lifelong relationship with Chu Changfeng. If Chu Changfeng doesn't like his martial arts skills, then he will find a way to waste his martial arts. Fortunately, he didn't dislike it and instead allowed himself to teach him. I think about it, some remember, some can't remember. Is working hard to recall her martial arts experiences. A full 15 minutes have passed. Finally spoke up. I remember, Xianggong. My current cultivation level should be at the level of a great master. And the technique I practice seems to be called water-stopping mind technique. There are 4 levels of the water-stopping mind technique, and I have now reached the 3rd level of cultivation. If I can step into the 4th level, I can break through the realm and become a land god. Chu Changfeng. Chu Changfeng's chin was almost startled. Grandmaster, land immortal. Isn't this the ultimate powerhouse in the martial arts world? I traveled to this world of martial arts and even found a wife in vain. It seems that my wife is still a top-notch powerhouse. What if her memory recovers and she doesn't recognize her husband anymore? Or perhaps a strong person of this level can easily crush themselves, erase any traces of their existence, and maintain their perfect image, which is not impossible. Chu Changfeng's face showed concern. Although he also has a martial arts dream. But we still need to consider whether we can survive first. Wait. Suddenly, Chu Changfeng noticed the key words. Water-stopping mind technique. Also, last night, did I hear the sound of moonlit evening flower morning? I just drank and didn't pay attention for a while. A room full of petals, it seems that only this move can achieve it. So what it means is, Chu Changfeng has fully reacted. Combined with she once said that her name contains the word Yi. In the end, her identity is about to be revealed. That is the second lord of Snow Moon City, Li Hanyi, the Snow Moon Sword Immortal. Seeking flowers, seeking monthly tickets. Fresh flowers add updates, evaluation tickets add updates, monthly tickets add updates. Chapter 3. 9 Center of Gravity Method, Directly Entering Immortals. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Hanyi. That's not a gentle person. On the contrary, it is decisive in killing and attacking. I once entered the apocalypse alone. The sword points out the virtue emperor. But since Li Hanyi's amnesia, what Chu Changfeng came into contact with was completely different from the rumored Li Hanyi. My own dependence, gentle and virtuous, completely unrelated to the Snow Moon Sword Immortal that shakes the martial arts world. But the fact is, is Li Hanyi. This is already firmly established. Chu Changfeng took a long breath. Inner complexity. I am married to the world-renowned Snow Moon Sword Immortal. Shouldn't you be happy? Allowing her to impart some martial arts skills to herself can also help fulfill her martial arts dream. Xianggong. 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 Yi shouted 3 times in a row before pulling Chu Changfeng out of her thoughts. What's wrong, Xianggong? You seem to have an unhappy expression on your face. Chu Changfeng regained his senses and showed a polite smile. I'm not unhappy, I just feel like I don't have any martial arts skills and feel a bit disappointed. Yi, why don't you pass on your water-stopping mind technique to me? Is that okay? Looking at this familiar face, Yi didn't even have the thought of refusing. Well, I will pass on the water-stopping mind technique to you now. After Yi finished speaking, she recited the mnemonic of the water-stopping mind technique one by one. Chu Changfeng listened attentively and was surprised to find that he had only listened once, and had memorized all the hundreds of words of the mnemonic without leaving a word behind. Then Yi continued, saying, this water-stopping mind method has 4 layers in total. First priority. Look at the mountains, look at the water. Second level. Look at the mountains, not the mountains, look at the water, not the water. Thirdly, whether to look at mountains or mountains, and whether to look at water or water. Fourth level. Above the first 3 levels, it belongs to the sword of the heavenly way. Only by comprehending this sword can one enter the realm of land immortals. Later, Yi began teaching Chu Changfeng how to find the sense of Qi. Embark on the path of cultivation for martial artists. With her help, Chu Changfeng found that ethereal aura in just 15 minutes. Xianggong, you can start using the water-stopping mind technique I passed you on now and start working. Then he gradually began to vomit and form his own internal strength. Under the master, it should be called internal power, and then by converting internal power into true Qi, one can step into the master's realm. As Yi spoke, Chu Changfeng interrupted it. Wait, Yi, I feel like there's a problem with your water-stopping mind technique mnemonic. Wait for me for a while. Chu Changfeng spoke and slowly walked into the study. I took out a pen, ink, paper, and inkstone. I wrote the mnemonic of the water-stopping mind technique on paper in one breath. Then, based on his own feelings, he disrupted and reorganized the water-stopping technique. For fold, not very good. I feel that this should be Zhucheng to be more reasonable. Chu Changfeng conceptualized the mind-stopping technique based on the mnemonic in his mind. I wrote the 9-fold water-stopping heart technique on paper. Take a look at this. How about comparing your 4-fold water-stopping mind technique? Picked up the paper with the 9-fold water-stopping heart technique written on it and began to recite it silently. After a while, was somewhat surprised and said, Xianggong, after trying to operate this 9-fold water-stopping technique, I found that the true Qi in my body is more condensed and pure. According to these 9-level water-stopping mind techniques, I only need to cultivate to the 7th level to enter the realm of land immortals. If you reach the 9th level of cultivation, perhaps you can surpass the land gods. Chu Changfeng nodded. Since you said this is better, then I will practice this. He began to cultivate according to the 9-fold water-stopping mind technique he had comprehended. 15 minutes. 2/4 of an hour. 3/4 of an hour. In just 3/4 of an hour, Chu Changfeng felt that his cultivation had made significant progress. The breath on my body surged several times. But the specific realm is also unclear. Do you still remember the realm of cultivation? Chu Changfeng asked. Remember. Nodded and said. A warrior cultivates internal skills, starting with grades 1 to 9. Those above the 9th grade are the acquired warriors. Above the acquired martial artists, there are also innate martial artists. There are also small realm divisions in the early, middle, and late stages of these two. Further up, there is the Grandmaster, the Great Grandmaster, and the Land Immortal. So it's like this. Chu Changfeng nodded. Take a look at my current state. Chu Changfeng extended his hand. He doesn't know how to explore the realm either. Everything can only relying on incomplete memories. Take a look. Also reached out her hand and rested it on the pulse of Chu Changfeng. A third-grade warrior, said directly. Understood. Chu Changfeng nodded. Since it's now third grade, then Chu Changfeng was about to continue his cultivation when he saw the shock on Yi's face. Xianggong, you're just a quarter of an hour. In just 3/4 of an hour, from a warrior who had just started practicing, he entered the third-level realm. I don't know why, I just feel very shocked. Swallowed her saliva. Third-grade warrior. I remember. When I was practicing back then, it took me several days to find my sense of qi. After several months of cultivation, I finally reached the level of a third-grade martial artist. Xianggong, your cultivation speed is really amazing. Such talent, combined with your ability to improve my understanding of mind techniques by just looking at it once. The future achievements, dare not imagine. But at least, absolutely above dependence. Thinking about the world.Renowned Snow Moon Sword Immortal Li Hanyi, they all gave themselves such evaluations. Chu Changfeng couldn't help but feel happy. But before that, he was clearly an ordinary person. If one's intelligence is really so powerful, then some signs should have been revealed long ago. Could it be that after the bridal chamber, my ren and du meridians were connected? Becoming an unparalleled genius with an incredible understanding. As a traveler, some strange golden fingers seem quite normal. The triggering conditions are also various. Let's just treat it like this. After working hard for over a year, Goldfinger has finally received the payment. With Chu Changfeng becoming a true warrior. His cultivation has reached the level of a third-rank warrior in one breath. The soreness on the body and numbness in the waist have been greatly relieved. But it hasn't completely improved yet. After all, whether it's a battle between an ordinary person and a great master. It's still the battle between the third-rank warrior and the great master. There is no difference between them, they are all existence that has been instantly killed. After having the mind technique to cultivate, Chu Changfeng thought of another thing. My wife is Li Hanyi, the Snow Moon Sword Immortal. So I need to learn some martial arts skills no matter what. I have a mind technique for cultivation. Can you remember the martial arts skills of the battle? Seeking flowers, seeking monthly tickets. Fresh flowers add updates, evaluation tickets add updates, monthly tickets add updates. Chapter 4. Red Candle Reignited, Ninefold Sword Technique. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mind techniques are used to enhance one's cultivation level. What is truly used for combat must also be martial arts. Upon hearing Chu Changfeng's words, also reacted. The martial arts skills I cultivate seem to be the water-stopping sword technique that matches the water-stopping mind technique. I'll write it down for my husband now. Wrote the matching water-stopping sword technique on paper. Like the previous method of stopping water, it is also a four-fold realm. The water-stopping sword technique relies on the water-stopping mind technique, with 4 levels of realm and a mnemonic of less than 200 words. After seeing it, Chu Changfeng kept thinking in his mind. But I have not yet gained a higher level understanding of the water-stopping sword technique. Chu Changfeng was somewhat surprised. Why is my golden finger not working? I'm too lazy to think so much for a moment. That's all for today. Put away the mnemonic of the water-stopping sword technique. See when you will have another insight. After resting for a while, Chu Changfeng felt that his body was much more energetic. There are still some fresh dishes at home. I haven't used up all the food for the banquet. Cooked a large table of dishes for Chu Changfeng. The two of them spent 3 months together, and at the beginning, Chu Changfeng cooked. Later, also followed suit to learn some. Most of the time, Yi cooked at home and waited for Chu Changfeng to finish his business from outside. Newly married Yen heir, Chu Changfeng is also too lazy to manage that small business. Anyway, there is a great master's wife who has also become a martial artist, so there is no need to worry about a few taels of silver. And he still has several hundred taels of silver in savings now. After resting for a while, I studied the water-stopping sword technique again. Start practicing the water-stopping sword technique of the 4 realms. Unfortunately, I don't have a sword either. Chu Changfeng could only break off the peach blossom branches in the yard to become a sword. Internal power swims within the body. Immediately after, the first stop water sword technique was mastered by him, using the peach blossom branch. 2 peach trees in the yard, I don't know how many peach branches were cut off by the peach branch sword in his hand. Not bad, if it were replaced with an iron sword, its power should also be impressive. Chu Changfeng nodded and was quite satisfied. Although he did not comprehend the new water-stopping sword technique, he also comprehended the 4-fold water-stopping sword technique. And able to proficiently use the first layer. According to EE, both martial arts and martial arts have levels. The martial arts and techniques can be roughly divided into 4 levels. Heaven, Earth, Mystery, and Yellow. And what she cultivates, whether it is the water-stopping mind technique or the accompanying water-stopping sword technique. They are all the highest level martial arts and techniques. Only the cultivation techniques of the heavenly pole can have the hope of breaking through to the realm of land immortals. After resting for a while, I cleaned the courtyard again. Time has come unconsciously, and it's already dark. As the sky darkened, the high hanging red lanterns in the yard. It seems to have covered the entire courtyard with a layer of mist. The atmosphere between the newlywed couple has once again become ambiguous. It's getting dark, it's time to rest, Chu Changfeng said. Yi's face turned red. She certainly knows what Chu Changfeng means. Yi murmured softly and nodded. Chu Changfeng picked up Yihan with one hand. Under the abundant internal power and the blessing of third-grade martial artists in the body, Chu Changfeng felt that his body was very light in his hands. Just that soft touch, even through his clothes, can make his heart feel a little stirred. Close the door of the wedding room again. Red candles were also lit one by one. In the room swaying with red candles. In a dream covered with petals. A brief night has passed. The next day, until the sun rises 3 poles. Chu Changfeng slowly woke up from his sleep. The strength of a third-grade warrior is indeed much more powerful than that of an ordinary person. The duration of the battle has been increased by half. The difference between third-grade martial artists and great masters is still too great. Chu Changfeng had just woken up when he saw those beautiful eyes staring at him. The slender willow eyebrows spread out. Yi's thin lips parted slightly and said, "Xianggong, you're awake." Chu Changfeng nodded, feeling the soreness in his waist and back again. "I'll go make breakfast for you," Yi said softly. Then he held Chu Changfeng's face and lightly pecked his lips. With a light posture and easy dressing, he left the room. Chu Changfeng sat up with a bitter smile. It seems that in order to achieve the level of dependence, one must also elevate one's realm. Otherwise, we won't be able to withstand it at all. Faced with Yi's stunning beauty, even for a lifetime, I won't get tired of it. Chu Changfeng sat up and began to practice according to the operation of the water-stopping heart technique around the sky. The feeling of overdraft in his body is slowly disappearing. Soon after, Chu Changfeng's breath became even more mellow. There seemed to be a popping sound. Breakthrough. 4th grade warrior. The 4th grade seems to be much more powerful than the 3rd grade. It can also be considered as a 3rd-level realm. It should be at the level of the most ordinary disciples among the major powers, right? Chu Changfeng finished his work and came out of the room. After so much effort, EE has already prepared all the dishes. He also cooked a bowl of congee with red dates and medlar for Chu Changfeng. Xianggong, I just finished it. Hurry up and eat, EE said. Chu Changfeng nodded. Ha! EE felt the breath on Chu Changfeng's body and couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Xianggong, have you broken through again? Chu Changfeng said, yes, just now while you were cooking, I practiced for a while and then broke through to the realm of a 4th-grade martial artist. Your talent, Xianggong, is really demonic. In my memory, no one can achieve the 4th level of cultivation within a month. Unless it's some old monster's topping. By practicing on their own, they have already reached the 4th level of martial arts in just 2 days. Xianggong, your talent is simply the first person in history. Chu Changfeng smiled. I don't know why, but since getting married, his talent has really undergone a qualitative change. After finishing breakfast, the two of them began to study martial arts again. Chu Changfeng picked up yesterday's water-stopping sword technique and prepared to practice it for the second time, giving it a try. But he just looked at the complete water-stopping sword technique and found that there were some problems with it. He saw it out. Quickly bring pen and ink, Chu Changfeng wrote his own insights on the paper. Then he wrote down the most perfect water-stopping sword technique in his mind. The water-stopping sword technique, this 9-fold water-stopping sword technique, should be much better than the 4-fold one. Give it a try first. Was a bit surprised. Her husband just realized the 9th level of the water-stopping mind technique yesterday. Today we have the 9th level of the water-stopping sword technique. This talent is too demonic, isn't it? Without hesitation, I leaned on this 9-fold water-stopping sword technique and looked at it carefully. Then the true Qi within her body also followed the flow of the 9-fold water-stopping sword technique. Shoo! Suddenly, a sword energy burst out from Yi's hand out of thin air. Surprisingly, he directly cut off the peach tree the size of a basin in the yard. Yi's face was filled with surprises. Xianggong, this 9-fold water-stopping sword technique is really powerful. And it is used in conjunction with the 9-fold water-stopping heart technique. As long as you can use the 7th sword, you have the power of a land immortal. Seeking flowers, seeking evaluation tickets. Looking for a monthly pass. 200 fresh flowers and 1 watch. 20 evaluation votes plus 1 update. 1 monthly pass plus 1 change. Reward 500 points or more and add 1 update. Up to 30,000 words per day. Audience gentlemen, please provide some data and let the author's hand speed soar. Itchy and unbearable, eager to code. Chapter 5. Light eyebrows like water, jade skin with a refreshing breeze. You are listening at novelfull.audio. For 2 consecutive days, Chu Changfeng had just entered the threshold of a warrior. But under his suddenly awakened intellect, I have already mastered the corresponding heavenly level mind technique and sword technique of the 2 schools, and have reached a higher limit. Xianggong, your current level is only a 4th-grade martial artist, and you are already so powerful. If you wait for your realm to be elevated to the level of a master, wouldn't you be able to comprehend this water-stopping mind technique and swordsmanship to a higher level? I am already fantasizing about what it would be like to become a land immortal in the 7th level of cultivation. When I reached the 9th level of cultivation, Chu Changfeng was also somewhat surprised. I don't know what happened today, but after seeing the 4-fold water-stopping sword technique, my mind feels like yesterday. Pointed out some minor flaws in the original, and then made it even more perfect. If we say, the previous water-stopping sword technique and mind technique were just ordinary heavenly level. So what Chu Changfeng comprehends is at least the most top-notch skill in the heavenly level. It has reached the limit that ordinary people can touch and cultivate. Going further up, it is not a realm that ordinary people can touch. Since that's the case, let's practice together, Chu Changfeng said. Yi nodded. Her memory is now incomplete, but deep down she is filled with a desire for this nine-fold sword technique. Unfortunately, without a sword, let's use this peach branch. Yi picked up a 3-foot peach blossom branch from the ground. Remember the nine-fold water-stopping sword technique in your heart and begin to use it. In the entire courtyard, a strong wind suddenly rose and true energy permeated. Chu Changfeng only felt like he was in an apocalyptic storm. Even his 4th-level martial artist's cultivation is difficult to breathe smoothly in such scenes. Strong. Too strong. Chu Changfeng didn't even know how strong Yi would be when she fully unleashed the nine-fold water-stopping sword technique. In the entire courtyard, countless things were moving with the peach blossom branch in Yi's hand. Go. Yi picked up a peach blossom branch in her hand and piled up all the miscellaneous items that had gathered in the yard in the corner. Then she stopped her movements and placed the peach blossom branch on the stone table. Chu Changfeng took a long breath. The road I have to walk is still very long. Oh. Yi said with a hint of guilt. Xianggong, this courtyard has been ruined by me, and many things have been destroyed. Chu Changfeng smiled and said. It's okay, it's just some miscellaneous items. It's just a good time to clean them up. Yi, where did you reach just now? Chu Changfeng asked. Thirdly, Yi replied, if applied further, the true qi will cause damage to the walls. If there is too much commotion, I will trouble my husband to clean up the mess. So I stopped. However, based on my understanding of the nine-fold water-stopping sword technique, what I can unleash is probably the 6th level. Still stuck in the power before stepping into the land immortal realm. But whether it's mental skills or swordsmanship, stepping from the 6th level to the 7th level is much simpler than my previous triple step to the 4th level. Listening to Yi's description, Chu Changfeng also felt that Yi would eventually break through and become a powerful land immortal realm. If she recovers her memory and wants to take action on herself and erase this experience, it will be even easier. Thinking of this, Chu Changfeng felt a sense of urgency in his heart. Either improve one's cultivation or increase the relationship with attachment. In terms of cultivation, even if he has an incredible talent, it is impossible for him to break through and become a strong player in the land immortal realm in a short period of time. Forget it, since that's the case, let's wait for a moment in terms of cultivating martial arts skills. First, improve your cultivation and internal strength, that's the way. Subsequently, Chu Changfeng continued to practice in seclusion. And Yi began to do some embroidery work. My husband and I are already married, and I haven't made anything for him, even a sachet. No matter how high my martial arts skills are, they don't fit my identity. As Yi spoke, she carefully showed off the mandarin ducks. This time, Chu Changfeng practiced until near evening. And his cultivation has once again broken through, reaching the realm of a 5th-grade warrior. As the realm improves, the cultivation speed gradually slows down. But 2 days of 5th grade, this speed is already very fast. Chu Changfeng is not dissatisfied with anything. On the contrary, they are very satisfied with the current situation. After he completed his cultivation, Yi also heated the dishes in the pot and placed them on the table. But Chu Changfeng carefully noticed that there were some red spots on the porcelain bowl. Previously, Yi was very particular about cleanliness, and it was impossible for such a situation to occur when washing dishes. Upon careful observation, Chu Changfeng finally noticed several small red dots on Yi's fingers. Yi, are you? Chu Changfeng was very concerned. It's all my fault, I can't even show off a mandarin duck well. On the contrary, Yi was full of self-blame. Then he took out his own work. Embroidered with 2 crooked pouches, it can barely be seen that they are like birds. Chu Changfeng couldn't help but cry and laugh, but at the same time, his heart was also deeply moved. Although not good-looking, it can even be considered ugly. But Chu Changfeng still accepted it with great satisfaction. I really like Yi's gift purse and will carry it with me in the future. Chu Changfeng put away his wallet, held his face, and couldn't help but nod on her red lips. Then he placed Yi's injured, weak and boneless little hand in the palm of his hand, and said with heartache. Aren't you the Grandmaster? The injury on the hand should be able to be restored with true qi. Paused for a moment and said, Ah. I was all focused on embroidering mandarin ducks and cooking just now, and I forgot about it. Withdrew her palm and began to activate the true qi in her body. Sure enough, the puncture from the embroidery needle quickly disappeared. After dinner, the two of them washed themselves up. Although was very shy, Chu Changfeng still adopted the most water-saving method. After all, no matter what era, saving water is always right. If separated, it would be too troublesome to boil 2 pots of hot water. Xianggong, only the last few red candles you bought are left. Took the initiative to light the red candles in the room. Then he obediently lay in the bed, emitting a trace of true energy to warm the bed. Throw out your warm personal clothing again. At this moment, the fair skin was flushed under the red candle light. Chu Changfeng also understood. What is called a pale eyebrow like autumn water, with jade skin accompanied by a refreshing breeze. A beautiful night has passed. After 3 days of marriage, the two never even stepped out of the door. Seeking flowers, seeking evaluation tickets. Looking for a monthly pass. 200 fresh flowers and 1 watch. 20 evaluation votes plus 1 update. 1 monthly pass plus 1 change. Reward 500 points or more and add 1 update. Up to 30,000 words per day. Audience gentlemen, please provide some data and let the author's hand speed soar. Itchy and unbearable, eager to code. Chapter 6. Water Stopping Double, White Fox presents Knife. You are listening at novel.Audio. Xianggong, continuing like this will cause damage to your body. Last night, although still as vigorous as usual. But I feel like your body has already activated its innate source. If it continues, not only the body, but even in future cultivation, it will get stuck in the innate realm, making it difficult to break through again. Upon hearing Yi's friendly tone, Chu Changfeng couldn't help but feel a hint of fear. He pretended to be breathing. It's not your fault for being so delicate. And, last night you took the initiative to seduce me. Ah. Yi's face suddenly turned extremely shy and red. Lowering his head, his face turned red as if it was about to drip blood. Alright, I'm not teasing you anymore. In the future, we will exercise some restraint. It's understandable that we just got married now. As long as I improve my cultivation, all problems can be easily solved. Lowered her head and whispered softly. Since that's the case, also happens to want to shut down for a while and fully comprehend the 9-fold water-stopping mind technique. Is it closed? Chu Changfeng nodded. How long will it be in seclusion? At most, it takes 10.5 days, at least 3 to 5 days. Raised her head, her eyes seemingly seeking Chu Changfeng's opinion. Chu Changfeng reached out and patted. Just shut up, don't force yourself. Your current memory is already incomplete, forcing a breakthrough may lead to problems. So just take it slow. Nodded heavily, and then the two couldn't help but passionately kiss each other. Has started to shut down, and she is still in the wedding room. Next, if Chu Changfeng can't disturb he can only go to the guest room to sleep. Without Chu Changfeng could only cook for himself or go to a restaurant. The next day, Chu Changfeng also began to cultivate. Following the 9-fold water-stopping heart technique, I have been practicing for a whole day. Finally, I have entered the second level of the water-stopping mind technique. My cultivation has also broken through to a 6th-level martial artist. However, now Chu Changfeng's combat power should be lower than that of an ordinary 6th-grade warrior. After all, I don't have any practical experience in combat, and I only know one type of martial arts skill, the water-stopping sword technique. I only practice the 1st level, and my combat power is really limited. It's too boring to practice in seclusion every day like this. Let's go out for a walk. EE is in seclusion, while Chu Changfeng is alone at home. It's really too boring. And you can't even practice the 2nd level of water-stopping sword technique. Afraid of disturbing EE's seclusion. These days are so boring. Let's go out of the city and have some fun. Just to relax. Chu Changfeng set up a mechanism in the gate and courtyard. If someone intrudes without permission, they will wake E up in advance to avoid being disturbed. But it's just insurance. The order in this snow moon city is still very good, especially in the east of the city. Most of the people living here are wealthy families. There are no thieves like roosters and dogs. Chu Changfeng left this snow moon city. Arrived in the suburbs. At this moment, it is a time of warm spring and blooming flowers. The sunshine shines, allowing the mood to relax. How comfortable. Chu Changfeng lay on the grassland by a small lake. Pillow your head and look at the sky. The days without having to work hard for a living are really comfortable. Chu Changfeng sighed. For over a year now, he has been really tired of making money. Now with a savings of several hundred taels of silver, even a lavish flower can persist for a year and a half. Moreover, he has now entered the gate of martial arts. With only strength, one can control resources without worrying about money at all. There is still a beautiful wife waiting for him in seclusion at home. This gave Chu Changfeng a sense of anticipation and belonging in his heart. The feeling of being an outsider in this world as a traveler gradually fades away. Starting to integrate into this unique world of martial arts. Unconsciously, Chu Changfeng fell asleep on the grass. By the time he opened his eyes again, it was already afternoon. The weather has slightly cooled down. The strength of a 6th-grade warrior is still unable to withstand the cold wind well. Exactly, it's an event. Chu Changfeng stood up and stretched lazily. Jumping up, folding off a soft willow branch not far away. The water-stopping sword technique. First priority. The world is mountains, I am water. Shwa shwa shwa, that soft willow twig, sometimes swaying in the air, sometimes becoming hard. In Chu Changfeng's hands, he changed various postures. The aura emanating from it and the rolling wind create a feeling of spring breeze. Water-stopping sword technique, 2nd level. Mountains and waters are integrated, and I am also part of the world. The 2nd water-stopping sword technique was unleashed in the hands of Chu Changfeng. The willow in his hand seemed to disappear before his eyes, as if it had merged into the air, unable to see its true appearance. The willows disappeared, but the power that burst out from them was not weak at all. Ripples and waves rolled up in the air. Chu Changfeng used his internal power to suddenly shake the willow twig in his hand. Shoo, that willow stick shot into the lake like a sharp sword. Boom! The small lake explodes with explosive power. Then, a grass carp weighing over 10 pounds floated up on the lake surface. On the belly of the fish, there is still a willow stick inserted. Seeing this situation, Chu Changfeng nodded. The power is good. If it were a slightly inferior iron sword, my 2nd water-stopping sword technique could have broken it. Chu Changfeng came to the lake, picked up the willow branches, and put away his spoils of war. Just as he was about to turn around, there was applause behind him. Pop twice. Then came a neutral voice. The swordsmanship is good, very powerful. But why not use a handy weapon? Turning around, Chu Changfeng looked at the owner who said these words. The person who catches the eye has a slender figure, a white robe, picturesque eyebrows, red phoenix eyes, peach blossom eyes, narrow and charming. Her skin is as white as jade, and she has a standard beautiful flower face. She is exceptionally handsome and does not look like ordinary things in the world. Such beauty can't even distinguish between men and women. Appearance and temperament are not inferior to dependence. The temperament emanating from its body carries a unique coldness. She was wearing a bamboo hat on top of her head, surrounded by a circle of white gauze. As he spoke, he also lifted the white veil in front of him. Chu Changfeng picked up the prey in his hand and smiled. "Thank you. I have just started practicing and haven't developed a weapon that suits me yet." The person nodded. The atmosphere between the two remained silent for a moment. Just as Chu Changfeng was about to leave with the grass carp, she finally spoke again. "Your swordsmanship is very exquisite. 2 moves are already at the level of prefecture-level martial arts. Can you demonstrate it to me again? Use the knife in my hand." Listening to this person's strange request, Chu Changfeng felt somewhat puzzled. "Why should I demonstrate my swordsmanship to you?" The person clenched his fist and continued. "I can also show you my cultivation of swordsmanship. Seeking flowers, seeking evaluation tickets. Looking for a monthly pass. 200 fresh flowers and 1 watch. 20 evaluation votes plus 1 update. 1 monthly pass plus 1 change. Reward 500 points or more and add 1 update. Up to 30,000 words per day. Audience gentlemen, please provide some data and let the author's hand speed soar. Itchy and unbearable, eager to code. Chapter 7. The Shock of Servants, 36 Stop. You are listening at novel.full.audio. You can use willow branches, but can't you use swordsmanship with a knife? Facing this incredibly beautiful person, say these words. Chu Changfeng shook his head. Using a knife is also possible. However, Chu Changfeng neither knew her background regarding the person in front of him. Of course, we need to be cautious. What I just demonstrated is a top-notch martial arts skill. It is very inconsistent with the cultivation of my current 6th-level martial artist. Even though the 9-fold water-stopping sword technique progresses layer by layer, the first 2 levels still lack true heavenly level power. Even at the prefecture level, it is enough to attract the attention of others and covet it. As you said, if you want me to showcase it again, please show me your knife technique first. Chu Changfeng made some concessions. It's not entirely impossible to showcase, but it depends on the person's identity and strength first. Okay. The person nodded and then pulled out his double swords from his waist. A long knife, a short knife. Chu Changfeng looked somewhat surprised. I couldn't help but ask. Wait a moment, please tell me your name first. Nangong servant. She didn't hesitate and directly said her name. Upon hearing these words, Chu Changfeng was slightly surprised. Double swords, 1 long and 1 short, embroidered with winter and spring thunder. In addition, the face at the top of this rouge chart makes it difficult to distinguish between men and women. That's right, it's her. But Chu Changfeng is a bit dizzy now. Isn't the martial arts world I've traveled through Bailey? How could a Nangong servant from Liang still emerge? It seems that we still need to hurry up and thoroughly understand the full picture of this world. Chu Changfeng has his own plan. Then, in front of him, the Nangong servants had already begun to wield their double swords. My swordsmanship is my own martial arts skill. It's called 19 stops. If you practice until the 19th stop, you will be invincible in the world. Subsequently, a series of sword rays appeared in front of the Nangong servant's body. Stop it. 2 stops. 3 stops. As the Nangong servant's sword gradually accelerated, it flowed like the endless river water. If the knife moves continuously, its power will increase. Gradually, gusts of strong winds rolled up in front of her. The willow branches around began to roll up, and even the lake's surface showed many fluctuations. Ripples began to rise in waves. In terms of momentum, compared to Chu Changfeng's previous use of the willow stick's water-stopping sword technique, it is much more powerful. However, this is thanks to the cultivation of Nangong Pushe far surpassing that of Chu Changfeng. The knife is still waving non-stop. 6 stops. 7 stops. 8 stops. Finally. The aura on Nangong Pushe's body suddenly stopped after reaching its peak. But that power has stirred the lake in front of me like a flowing river, rather than a calm lake. The willows on the shore swayed like a strong wind and rain. The final cut was made with a burst of force. The lake is exploding. Like a thunderbolt from the clear sky, majestic and surging. Chu Changfeng was deeply shocked in his heart. If I remember correctly, 6 stops kill the innate, 9 stops kill the master, 12 stops kill the great master, 16 stops even break open the Buddha's great Vajra, and the heavenly body and soul are like white paper. 18 stops are even more capable of slaying land immortals. But I always feel that these 19 stops have some flaws and are not very perfect. Nangong's servant he made 8 stops in a row. She stopped the double knives in her hand, her chest constantly heaving and panting heavily. Currently, her cultivation level is limited to the innate realm, and she uses her 8-stop technique in one breath, which consumes quite a bit. Although it's 19 stops, with my current strength, I can only use the 8th stop. I have demonstrated my martial arts skills and hope you can keep your promise. Subsequently, the Nangong servant handed his double swords to Chu Changfeng, allowing him to choose between embroidered winter and spring thunder. I thought he would choose embroidered winter, that is 3 feet and 2 long. But he picked up a 2-foot 4 spring thunder. Nangong Pushe is a bit strange. If you want to use swordsmanship, Shodong should be more suitable. After picking up the spring thunder, Chu Changfeng picked up embroidered winter again with one hand. With dual swords in hand, Nangong's servants were all surprised. In that case, how could he still use his swordsmanship? Whether it's a one-handed sword or a two-handed sword, if you want to truly unleash it and fully unleash its power. When the other hand is holding a heavy object, it will have some impact. Could it be that he doesn't even want to showcase so much? The Nangong servant just had this idea. Chu Changfeng had already wielded his double swords and began to strike. Spring thunder comes out, embroider winter and then connect. The double swords danced in front of me, forming an airtight wall of knives. The southern palace servant was instantly shocked. This is. That's right. The double swords in Chu Changfeng's hands were dancing in a posture that she couldn't be more familiar with. Isn't it the self-created double knife 19 stop? My own martial arts skills have never been passed on to others. Why would he use it? Stop it. 2 stops. 3 stops. Chu Changfeng made 3 stops in a row. Although not as powerful, the level of delicacy is no less than that of Nangong's servants. Even there is still victory. This. The Nangong servant suddenly realized that the person in front of him, whose cultivation had not even reached the realm of the day after tomorrow, had used 3 stops in a row. It depends on the situation. Surprisingly, it was learned through self-application. Such martial arts prodigies have never been seen by the southern palace servants. I have only heard a few words in rumors. Her ability to create world-class martial arts skills is already rare in the world. But the person in front of me just took a glance and learned her 19 stops. If she were a genius, the person in front of her could only be called a fairy's talent. The 4th stop. Chu Changfeng waved his double swords with difficulty and made the 4th stop. Its level of delicacy has surpassed the 4th stop that Nangong's servants have unleashed themselves. Boom! The blade burst into a piercing sound in the air. Chu Changfeng fiercely inserted his 2 knives into the ground. I can't do it, the 4th stop is already at my current limit. The cultivation level of a 6th grade martial artist is still too difficult. My internal strength is too weak. As Chu Changfeng gasped for breath and lifted her head to look at the southern palace servant, she happened to swallow her saliva. Looking at Chu Changfeng with round eyes. Her expression changed for the first time. My heart is fluctuating. You actually learned my 19 stops. And, compared to the 19 stops I made myself, it's even more ingenious. How on earth did you do it? Chu Changfeng also hesitated slightly. I just. He seemed to be involuntarily using it just now. Using my own way of enlightenment, I used the most suitable double swords. After regaining his senses, Chu Changfeng said. I feel that your 19 stops are not perfect, and there are quite a few flaws. So I improved it a bit. In my mind, I have evolved the double knife Heavenly Gang 36 stop. It's just that my current level is too low, I can only use 4 stops. The Nangong servant widened his eyes and slightly opened his lips. What? 36, stop. Seeking flowers, seeking evaluation tickets. Looking for a monthly pass. 200 fresh flowers and 1 watch. 20 evaluation votes plus 1 update. 1 monthly pass plus 1 change. Reward 500 points or more and add 1 update. Up to 30,000 words per day. Audience gentlemen, please provide some data and let the author's hand speed soar. Itchy and unbearable, eager to code. Chapter 8. To kill Changfeng, go first to the Southern Palace. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tiangang 36 stop is Chu Changfeng's own name. But it is indeed like this. In his mind, he had already rehearsed several times. From the first stop to the 19th stop. From the first stop to the 36th stop. Whether it was created by Nangong Pushe himself or improved after his enlightenment. All of them have been deeply reflected in his mind. At present, I can only cast the 8th stop, but I have deduced to the 19th stop. If you use the 19th stop, you can reach the limit of sky-level martial arts. What is your 30.6 stops, and what is it? Without realizing it, the Nangong servant spoke so many words. The detailed conversation with Chu Changfeng today is enough to match what she said a few months ago. But the waves in her heart couldn't stop. We can only seek answers from Chu Changfeng. And the reason why she wants to watch Chu Changfeng's martial arts again is precisely to gather the strengths of 100 schools of thought, so that she can better understand the subsequent martial arts. At the same time, it is also to perfect her 19 stops. But the person in front of him said he had already deduced the 19 stops to the 30.6 stop. Only the Nangong servants can feel the shock of this. After reaching 16 stops, for every increase in stop, the difficulty is almost doubled. If it were to go from 19 stops to 30.6 stops, the difficulties involved would be unimaginable. Chu Changfeng smiled happily and said. The 36 stops I deduced are similar to yours, but more simple and perfect. Similarly, 18 stops can slay the land immortals. But we can still continue to deduce until the 36th stop. After the 18 stops, the power of this martial arts skill has already surpassed the heavenly pole. The Nangong servants were stunned. Beyond the heavenly level. What a situation it is. But I never imagined it. What's your name, you? Nangong servant asked. On her face, I saw a rare expression again. It's urgent. She is eager to know the world after 19 stops. And the first 18 stops created by Chu Changfeng. From what he had just shown, it was indeed smoother and simpler than her own 19 stops. Even its power is 1 point stronger. She naturally knows her own martial arts skills. The man in front of me, named Chu Changfeng, although his cultivation is low, his intelligence is definitely rare in the world. Chu Changfeng. Chu Changfeng generously said his name. If he didn't know the situation of the newcomer, he wouldn't have disclosed himself so casually. It doesn't matter if you know about Nangong's servant's words, she's not such a ruthless person. Nature will not kill people or steal goods. Moreover, the goods she needs are in her mind. Chu Changfeng. I remember. The Nangong servant clenched his fist. Then he pulled out his embroidered winter and spring thunder from the ground. Her internal strength trembled slightly, and the mud on Xiudong and Chunlei shook open. Double swords returned to their sheaths. The southern palace attendant arched his hand at Chu Changfeng. Brother Changfeng, please pass me 36 stop. Alternatively, you can stop 19 times after realizing the improvement. The Nangong servant made a full gesture. Chu Changfeng was quite useful. But he still asked, I can teach you, but it's still that sentence. What can you give? Or, why should I teach you? Ah. The Nangong servant's tone choked. Yeah, Chu Changfeng is such a genius, how can he teach himself? In terms of human relationships and worldly wisdom, Nangong servants are still a bit slow. The Nangong servant was unable to speak for a long time. What can she give to the other party? Money, she is not a millionaire. Right, she is not a high-ranking official either. In terms of martial arts, her realm is only slightly higher than that of Chu Changfeng. Compared to her martial arts skills, she has a desire for Chu Changfeng. After much thought, the Nangong servant didn't know what to take out. Chu Changfeng raised the corner of his mouth and smiled, saying, Your cultivation is so high, you should have almost reached the realm of a master. Okay, how about you be my guard for 3 months? The southern palace attendant's eyes lit up when he heard the word guard. I can be your guard. If someone wants to take action against you, then go ahead and pass me, Nangong servant. Okay. That's the decision. When I'm on guard for 3 months, I'll pass on your complete 30.6 stops. Chu Changfeng nodded in satisfaction. Heart said, in 3 months, I should be able to reach the innate realm, and then I don't need the protection of innate experts anymore. Since you agreed, let me give you this. We've all gone on an outing, and a picnic is also necessary. The Nangong servant looked at the more than 10-pound grass carp handed over by Chu Changfeng. Her face was a bit cold. I just promised to be your guard, not a servant. I am only responsible for safeguarding your safety, and I am not in charge of anything else. When your guard is supposed to be in charge of food, right? So, you should grill it for me to eat. Chu Changfeng. I was careless. But even if it's agreed upon, it's impossible to return. Allowing such a talented expert in the innate realm to serve as his guard is probably the limit of her endurance. It seems that I still need to find a maid for myself. We have already entered the martial arts world, so we can't do everything ourselves. Chu Changfeng thought this way and brought some simple wood to start a fire and roast fish. The simplest charcoal grilled fish without any seasoning. The food Chu Changfeng ate was indescribable. But the Nangong servant did not show any dissatisfaction. Just silently finishing my own portion. As a person who has been wandering the martial arts world for a long time, it is not always possible to have good food and dishes. I have long been accustomed to these things and have not felt anything inappropriate. Chu Changfeng reluctantly took a few bites and then lost his mood. Forget it, let's call it a day of relaxation. It's already afternoon, and it's time to go back. Let's go, my guard. Take you home and recognize the door. Chu Changfeng stood up and said these words, welcoming a pair of white eyes from the servants of the southern palace. However, she still fulfilled her promise and served as Chu Changfeng's guard for 3 months. Exchange for a more perfect 36 stop. A martial arts skill that is likely to surpass the extreme, in the eyes of ordinary people, not to mention being a 3-month guard. Even if it's for 3 years, there's no problem at all. Return to the small courtyard in the east of Shuyue City. Chu Changfeng checked and found no signs of anyone breaking in. Is still in seclusion. It takes at least 3 to 5 days to pass the level. I must never disturb myself. The Nangong servant was a bit curious. This brightly decorated courtyard seems to have just hosted a wedding banquet. Even if it's curiosity, she wouldn't take the initiative to ask these questions. As a guard, you also need to arrange for me to stay, right? Nangong Pushe naturally said. Chu Changfeng pursed his lips. Apart from the main house being used as a wedding room, his small courtyard only has one guest room and one firewood room. If you don't mind, choose between the firewood room and the guest room, Chu Changfeng said. Seeking flowers, seeking evaluation tickets. Looking for a monthly pass. 200 fresh flowers and 1 watch. 20 evaluation votes plus 1 update. 1 monthly pass plus 1 change. Reward 500 points or more and add 1 update. Up to 30,000 words per day. Audience gentlemen, please provide some data and let the author's hand speed soar. Itchy and unbearable, eager to code. Chapter 9. 9 pavilions have exited, Grandmaster's power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Nangong Pushe didn't know what kind of person she had set up. As a guard, he actually wants to live in a woodshed. Either it's a wing room, an ear room, or a guest room. There is no firewood shed for people to live in. This is simply humiliating her. Looking at the cold face of the Nangong servant, Chu Changfeng awkwardly smiled. No, don't misunderstand. Mainly because my wife is currently in seclusion and in the main room, I cannot disturb her. But all I have left in this small courtyard are guest rooms, wooden houses, and thatched cottages. So 2 options were given. Is it a firewood room or a guest room? Logically speaking, there seems to be no problem. The Nangong servant took a deep breath. After looking left and right, he walked towards the guest room. Chu Changfeng also followed suit. The firewood room cannot accommodate people, so for now we can only go to the guest room together and squeeze together. This room is not big either. There is only 1 set of bedding on the bed. The weather is still so cold, even if it's impossible to lay the ground. The 2 of them arrived at the guest room, and Chu Changfeng touched his nose. Let's make do for 1 night first, and I'll go solve this problem tomorrow. The neighborhood market is now closed. The room is still quite warm. Chu Lingjie tidied up the table and sat cross-legged on it to start practicing. Operate the 2nd level of the water-stopping heart technique. The Nangong servant felt the breath of Chu Changfeng's cultivation and was secretly shocked. This kind of aura is probably the heavenly extreme technique. Where on earth did this person obtain the heavenly extreme technique and martial arts from when their cultivation was underground? Is it really his own understanding or creation? Still curious, the Nangong servant took off his shoes, but did not take off his clothes. He just covered himself with a blanket and lay on the bed. As night falls, the whole night has passed like this. When Chu Changfeng felt that his cultivation had improved, he opened his eyes and the sky had already brightened. Still a 6th grade warrior. But the breakthrough is not far away. I originally wanted to break through to the 7th level martial artist in 1 breath and become a 3rd level warrior, but I was still a little short. Chu Changfeng opened a lazy mouth and stretched lazily. I feel so sleepy. The cultivation level is too low, and it is not possible to reach the level where even a master or above can cultivate enough spirit. We still need to work hard. Chu Changfeng turned his head and looked at the southern palace servant. Ah, haven't you finished practicing? Then I'll take a nap first. I'm really tired. Chu Changfeng crawled into the blanket. Vaguely, a fragrant breeze penetrated his nose. He didn't have the energy to manage so much and fell asleep soundly. The Nangong servant looked at Chu Changfeng with a complex expression. From his breath just now, it can be seen that he has made significant progress compared to when he first started practicing yesterday. Although we haven't broken through yet, it's not far either. The speed of cultivation is so fast, it's rare in the world. Can be in his early 20s, only a 6th grade martial artist. The Nangong servant cannot explain. After shaking his head, he opened the secret book he carried with him and looked at it. As noon approached, Chu Changfeng opened his eyes. I feel like my energy is really abundant. Including last night, he hasn't slept with EE for 2 days. Chu Changfeng is now full of energy. The vitality in the body has also been restored long ago. Let's see how EE is doing. Chu Changfeng walked into the wedding room and dared not get too close. Afraid of affecting her. But outside the door, only the blurry figure of EE sitting on the bed could be seen through the window. Today is the 3rd day, and I don't know if EE can pass the level. Forget it, let's solve the housing problem first. It's too uncomfortable. Chu Changfeng arrived all the way to Fengshe. The southern palace attendant also followed behind him. After hesitating, the Nangong servant finally mustered up the courage to come forward and ask questions. Changfeng, your mother, what is your cultivation? I felt her breath before, as if it was very ethereal, not an ordinary person. Nangong Pushe still found the opportunity to express her doubts in her heart. Upon hearing these words, Chu Changfeng turned his head and said, Grandmaster, I think we are about to break through and become a land immortal. Nangong servant. She remained silent for a moment, and then looked at Chu Changfeng's expression, seeming to be somewhat resentful. Don't look at me with that expression, I'm not lying to you. You'll know when my wife leaves the border. The Nangong servant took a deep breath, but she couldn't hold back and spoke. Every great master is a famous figure in the martial arts world. If you can name him, then I believe him. Believe it or not, Chu Changfeng shrugged. I arrived at Fengshe all the way and bought some wooden frames, bedding, screens, and so on. Ask someone to deliver it to their doorstep in the evening. Later, Chu Changfeng brought the Nangong servants to the outskirts. Since the transaction has been completed, let's get ready to start now. I'll give you the first 4 stops that I can cultivate first. Watch it out. Chu Changfeng drew out the double swords of the southern palace servant in one fell swoop. Start showing her in a slow-motion manner. At the same time, Chu Changfeng also verbally explained the crucial points to the southern palace servants. The display greatly shook the hearts of the Nangong servants. But she finally understood what she had previously felt was a bit off. No need for cultivation, as long as you can know the key mysteries, it is equivalent to learning. Thank you. The Nangong servant uttered these words from his mouth. Chu Changfeng nodded. I can't show you the rest, so I can only verbally explain it. Listen up, this is the 5th stop to the 9th stop. With Chu Changfeng's oral instructions, the southern palace servants also began to use their archery. The double swords keep chopping out one knife after another. 6 stops. 7 stops. 8 stops. The previous Nangong Pushe was stuck in the 8th stop. Unable to reach the 9th stop state. Also unable to possess Grandmaster level combat power. But after using the 8th stop spoken by Chu Changfeng, she did not feel the same difficult breakthrough as before. The 9th stop. The 9th stop is a watershed, representing whether one can reach the level of a master's combat ability. After Chu Changfeng's oral statement, the double swords in the hands of the southern palace lackeys never stopped. According to his essence, he finally made that cut. The 9th stop. The southern palace servants have come out. In an instant, between this heaven and earth, the wind and clouds surged, and a fierce wind suddenly rose. As soon as it stopped, the small lake ahead was cut in half. It wasn't until a moment later that the lake water poured back. The calm lake surface was once again broken. Even worse than yesterday. Roll up the surging waves, constantly patting the shore. The 9th stop, I can do it. Sure enough, the 9th stop is enough to slay the master. The Nangong servant retracted his twin swords. The journey from innate to the realm of the Grandmaster has taken us a considerable distance. With the blessing of such martial arts skills. Although her cultivation in front of her is only an innate realm. But killing the master, she has absolute confidence. Chapter 10. The Assassin of the Underworld, Marquis Moon Ji. You are listening at novel.Audio. Without the cultivation of a master, one can slay the master with force. In the world of martial arts, this situation is not uncommon. In addition to Tianji's martial arts and cultivation methods, some people's talents are indeed more powerful. And the Southern Palace servants are undoubtedly among the best. He has outstanding talent, even Wang Xianji calls him the first person in the martial arts world in later generations. Chu Changfeng was not surprised by this. I am quite satisfied. At least, if EE is closed and not by her side. I can have a master-level expert as his guardian. Alright, since you've learned it, let's go back first. I came to the suburbs just to practice, otherwise my small yard wouldn't be banned. The Southern Palace servant has completed the 9th level of training, and I also need to hurry back to practice. The two of them turned back all the way to Snow Moon City. As he passed by a dilapidated temple, the Southern Palace attendant reminded him. Be careful, there seems to be an unusual aura in this dilapidated temple. Chu Changfeng was somewhat surprised, but also curious. Is there a master-level powerhouse? The Nangong servant couldn't help but give him a blank glance. Do you think the Grandmaster Strong has ruined the streets? Where did so many masters come from? That's all the strong ones on one side, they are the top strong ones of the big power. Upon hearing these words, Chu Changfeng was dumbfounded. Perhaps my starting point is too high. After all, EE is a strong individual at the level of a great master. This makes his perspective on the world of martial arts too high. In fact, as a 6th-grade martial artist, he can already be considered a good cultivator. Adhering to the principle that more is better than less. Chu Changfeng is too lazy to care about so much. In the martial arts world, there are so many grudges every day, how can we handle them? Let's go, don't worry so much, I'm too lazy to meddle in anything. The two walked past the dilapidated temple. But at this moment, a majestic aura came from afar and crashed into the dilapidated temple. With a loud bang. This kind of aura is by no means ordinary. Chu Changfeng and Nangong Pushe were both shocked by this aura. I couldn't help but stop and observe. Within the walls of the dilapidated temple, there were sounds of fighting. The breath burst out, and the sound of the fusion of gold and iron kept ringing. There were several roars again. The already dilapidated courtyard wall of the dilapidated temple collapsed with a loud bang. Exposed the situation inside the dilapidated temple. At this time, there were two opposing figures on the empty space of the dilapidated temple. A figure holding a huge golden knife. It's almost like a door panel. The exposed upper body is filled with explosive muscles. He is over 9 feet tall and has a huge physique. The aura emanating from his body is also frightening. The other silhouette is different. She is a woman with a tall and slender figure, dressed in purple clothes. A cold breath emanated from the eyebrows. Wearing a moon-like accessory on his forehead, even the hairpin behind him is a full moon. This woman's figure is very proud, with rough waves. Her appearance is also comparable to EE, but EE is small and charming, while she is charming and charming. With every move and gesture, it exudes a seductive feminine vibe. UG, stop struggling. Since you choose not to join the Dark River, from this moment on, remove yourself from the list of assassins. The man who was 9 feet tall snorted, and his breath was heavy. There was also a strong and powerful voice when speaking. Ming Ho, as the fourth-ranked assassin on the assassin list, I feel ashamed of you for joining the Dark River. Yu Ji gritted her teeth and raised her soft sword, pretending to continue the battle. Ming Ho sneered. Forget it, although your ranking is only one place lower than mine, I already have a complete understanding of your methods. You can't break through my defense now. I'll give you another chance to choose. Either join the hidden river or die. The word death in Ming Ho is very heavy. As soon as he finished speaking, the golden giant sword in his hand raised his hand and slashed at Yu Ji. Chu Changfeng was outside the temple, looking in surprise. Yu Ji and Ming Ho. Shouldn't these two be a pair? Why are they still fighting each other now? Do you still have a never-ending attitude? Chu Changfeng doesn't understand now. Turning his gaze to the Nangong servant. Nangong Pushe said. I also have some knowledge about the rivers and lakes of Bailey. Yu Ji and Ming Ho, who were previously rumored to be assassins of similar strength, have also collaborated before. As for why the fight started, you have to ask them yourself. Chu Changfeng shook his head. Since these two people's cultivation is not innate, and there are still Nangong servants around him, you can also take a look. Coincidentally observe a battle between innate experts. Moon Shadow Sword, Shadow Imitation Technique. After the Dark Lord cut a knife, Yu Ji's figure disappeared. When it reappeared, it had already dispersed into several figures, attacking the Dark Lord in different directions. Faced with such an attack, the Marquis of the Underworld casually erected his own golden giant sword to block in front of him. That knife, like a door panel, was blocked by Yu Ji's sword. Unable to inch in. This knife is really annoying. Yu Ji bit her silver teeth lightly and could only distance herself once again. Alright, that's all for your moves. Yu Ji. After Ming Ho finished speaking, he stormed towards Yu Ji. Yu Ji had no choice but to hold a bundle sword to block her. Being beaten for a while and retreating step by step. I am really unable to defeat the Dark Lord. Yu Ji turned around and wanted to escape. But the Marquis of the Underworld spoke again. You have been poisoned by the Dark River, no matter where you go, I can find your position. Escaping is useless, Moon Ji. Upon hearing this, Yu Ji clenched her sword tightly with her hand. At that moment, her spare light caught sight of the two people watching the battle outside the temple. There was no trace of fear on the faces of those two people. And the one wearing white clothes, incredibly beautiful, regardless of gender, exuded an aura that made Yu Ji a little wary. I was about to run towards that direction. Suddenly, Yu Ji spat out a mouthful of black blood from the corner of her mouth. Damn the hidden river. Heavenly damn Marquis. The aura on Yu Ji's body suddenly withered. The toxin in her body has exploded. Behind him, there is also the Ming Marquis, a powerful person from the later stage of his birth, chasing after him. Yu Ji can only fight to the death and run towards Chu Changfeng and the other two. Fortunately, Ming Ho is not good at speed. Yu Ji rushed to their side first. Help me. Help me. As soon as she spoke, Yu Ji begged for help from the two of them. Chu Changfeng and the Southern Palace attendant have not yet spoken. The sword of the Marquis of the Underworld struck towards the two of them. Humph. I see who can save the person that the Marquis of the Underworld wants to kill. I'll kill both of you first, and then go deal with Yu Ji.